top of the Friday morning to you. Happy Friday, happy Easter for last weekend to everybody that's enjoying a second short week. Hope everyone had a wonderful Easter break. And welcome again to the Digital Discovery Show, the show that is all about showcasing digital transformations in our Australian small business communities around the country. This is a show that is brought to you by two of my favourites, Navii Digital and Tourism Tribe. Thank you for being here. It's all about inspiring each other with successes and stories to be shared by our other small business friends. My name is Despina Kratius. I am the very proud Chief Navigator / GM here at Navii and Tourism Tribe. And it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you today our special guest, Jodie Killian. She is the owner of Savvy Youth and Student. Anything with the word savvy in it has got my attention. She had me at savvy. So Jodie, and the focus that we're going to speak about today is about her journey and about how to plan for business success with an effective digital strategy. So as a new business, how she was being really able to launch with a good, effective digital strategy in her back pocket. So a little bit about Jodie before we beam her in. Jodie began her career as a freshly returned traveller, having lived and worked in the US and the UK for 3 years. She started her career with work and travel placements abroad for graduates and interns. So she's had quite a long journey and career working within the student services space. She loves a challenge, and the need for change and growth inspires her. I love that. That inspires me too, and all of us here at the tribe. So she's had a lot of experience in leisure, in different types of building, sales, team building, business development, and general manager and strategy for many roles across the STA travel brand. So being able to connect so many industries and deliver a product that is consistently and constantly evolving to an audience that's keeping us well and truly on our toes is why, after all the hiccups and the hoopla of 2020 that was thrown at us, Jodie's decided to build and steer her own ship. So she got the entrepreneur bug in her, and now she's followed through on all of the hard work and effort that she's put in over the few years into her digital strategy and take things to the next level. So without further ado, drum roll, welcome to the show, Jodie Killian. Hello.
Hi, Despina. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us, all of us on the show, and thank you to those of you that are joined live. Please don't be shy and come on board, and you can come on board and give us a shout out, a comment, or any questions that you would like to ask, and let us know in the comments. So, Jodie, did I say Anne? I meant Jodie. Any questions? I've got, I do have Anne, our wonderful new team member in the green room as well. So who's just alerted me to just change my little, so is that better, Anne? Thank you. The benefits of working live. That is great. I love it. She's giving me the thumbs up. So I'll just, so Jodie, welcome. Tell us about where you are and this inspiration that came. What was your aha moment that you said, I am going to take this leap of faith and start my Savvy Youth and Student business?
Yeah, cool. Well, it really was an aha moment. I could say that for sure. So I'd been with STA and other businesses for well over 12, 13 years, and within the travel sector for a good 16 plus years. And unfortunately, as most of you may be aware, STA Travel unfortunately didn't make it through and exited the industry middle of last year, which The ISEC businesses have been owned and managed by SDA for so many years, and that's really where I sat, was looking after their students and youth card business. And it really was a kind of a situation of, what do I do now? Do I see what else there is available, or what are the options to use, what we've changed and developed and worked so hard to deliver on over the last few years, which we converted a plastic card into a virtual card when everybody said we were ridiculous. And we've built an app that serves our audience. And do we just chuck it and throw it away and give it over to somebody else, or what do we do? So I really was put in a bit of a corner, and it was either saying goodbye to all of that hard work, which I wasn't quite comfortable leaving. So I decided to go against the grain of probably what most people suggested, and decided to set up a brand new entity, apply for the licenses here in Australia and New Zealand. I was previously managing 5 different markets across Asia Pacific, but I decided to stay with Australia and New Zealand. And we were appointed the license in December. We began work before that because we knew we had a lot to plan and to kind of get set up. And well, here I am now. We're all set up. We're live. We're moving. We've changed a lot. We've had to change a lot, but we're moving forward, which is great. So definitely an aha moment, bit of a corner, and I decided to take, I think, what probably is the harder road, but in my opinion, is probably the right and more exciting option.
Right on, Jody. And this is the classic case where crisis and change brings opportunity, and for you to being able, and I just see what I'm hearing is your passion and commitment to the work that you've done. I don't want this thrown away. I don't want this just put on the shelf and left to kind of wither, because the work that you did is important. So yeah. I see the international students.
Yep, so it's the International Student Identity Card.
Identity card.
Yep, and it has the youth and teacher product as well. I suppose what's key and where we've changed a bit is it's not only for international students, which the perception is that it is, and that's something that we've really had to work hard at. It's actually for everyone. It's just internationally recognized, and a lot of people don't understand that. And having been managed by a travel business, it's always been focused around international travel. So, we've never had to really look at delivering a different message. International Student Identity Card, the ISEC, that is our core business, our core product. But it's for all students, not just international students. And that's where we've had to put a lot of hard work in and get our digital strategy on a better road.
And the biz, I've just popped up I love that, making students better. There is a misconception that it is, it's an international student identity card, but all students have access to this identity card that gives them access, you can see here, to a lot of discounts. Now, a lot of these are around the travel, tourism and hospitality space, but there are other businesses that can take advantage of being featured in a network to students, because your cohort of students is significant as well. Would I be right in saying, Jody, how many students with cards do you have across the Australian, New Zealand regions that you look after?
Yeah, so currently we're sitting at just over 100,000, which obviously we have been impacted with COVID and the changes. So it will take some time to build up to we were once sitting at. Globally, we issue about 5 million cards. And obviously with Australia being a major tourist destination for a lot of other countries, when the time comes and we have those visitors, we want to make sure that we've got something really strong to offer the card holders coming into the country. And like I said, our student card is our primary card, but our youth card is really popular with our backpacker market coming into Australia. And so I foresee that particular product will be growing in the future. It just really relies on how we position it.
Oh, and you've got also the teacher card. I've just,
Yep.
scroll here as well. I think that's great too. I just see I'm putting my tour operator hat on now, and
Yeah.
there's great opportunities for a lot of, I hope, a lot of businesses that are tuning into the show that could get in touch with you to collaborate and partner and be featured as well. Because I see this is great, that even for teachers to have those type of benefits to get out and explore or encourage the students is great.
Yeah, exactly right. So the student cards for all full-time students, whether it's online learning, classroom learning, doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter where they're studying, they can acquire the card. It's all online based. It's now a virtual product completely. We've done away with the plastic. And then you've got your youth card, which is for under 31s, which is some pretty old youth, in my opinion. But that's quite a large sector of potential customers that we can really push out products and services to, and we do that as a value add for the card holders. So our partners don't pay. So yeah, if there's anyone listening that you think this could be of value to you, please do give me a shout and I can explain a bit more.
Fantastic. Now, if I go back, so you were managing this project as part of STA. As STA goes into effectively liquidation, this product is left there for someone to do something. You've come on board, said, I'm going to go for it, and you've applied for the license. You get the license in December for both Australia and New Zealand. With that, you've also acquired quite a significant Facebook and social media following, particularly for the Australia. You've got over 20,000, a community of over 20,000 following that page. Yeah. Tell me about your planning efforts for this, Jody. So now you've really gone into like fifth year. You're in the fast lane. You commitment. Tell me how you approach that. Okay, we can't do the card thing because of the changes in the pandemic. We're going to make the switch. Tell us about that process and how you went about your strategy to prepare for the launch once you got the license.
Yeah, so we really were thrown in a bit of the thick of it, and our first steps, in all honesty, were all focused around customer and partner recovery and support. So the entire focus and digital plan was around communication. We needed to make sure that people knew what was happening because of the way ISEC is structured globally, and the fact that it was under STA Travel but kind of sat as a separate entity. We needed to make sure that our digital communication strategy was on point, specifically with our card holders, so customers that had paid for the product that now didn't know what was happening, partners that were partnered and offering services and products, they didn't know what was happening. So communication was at the very front of our planning. Taking over a brand and partners and customers from another entity, whilst it definitely does have its benefits, it also has its challenges, especially when the company in question has gone into administration and there's a lot of red tape around what you can and can't do within that entity. So ensuring that our communication was clear and that there was a level of true and pure authenticity, I think has really served us well over the last few months. The next step in our planning was really around what the vision for the products and services were. So we had introduced the virtual card a couple of years prior, but we'd always offered the plastic for those that wanted. There was no real need to ditch the plastic completely. So it was planning around how we were going to position our product in a virtual space only, and whether that was going to be a short-term plan or the long-term plan. We've decided that it's our long-term plan. We feel that the audience that we target is a virtual focus audience. They prefer digital products. They're moving very quickly away from the physical products, and they engage better with us as a merchant or supplier or partner of theirs in the virtual world. So we had to plan what and how we were going to position that under the Savvy Youth and Student brand and create the product in its own right from scratch. So there's a lot of planning around the websites, what the website goals were. Was it just a website to sell cards? Was it a website for information, resources? What functionality the websites needed in order to provide the customer journey that we wanted our users to have. One of our complex issues that we faced was making sure the website delivered on suitable customer journeys for each of our audiences. So we have our card holders, but we also have our partners that issue cards, and we also have partners that offer deals and discounts and benefits to our card holders. And one website needed to service all those different audiences. So how did we tailor the website to make sure that card holders knew where and what they needed to do, and so forth, as we go through the different audiences? So we've spent a fair bit of time in trying to develop the website to meet those goals. I'd say there's probably still some work, which I think there's probably always work to be done on websites, unfortunately, but we definitely have a plan and a vision as to what we want to achieve. Social media was quite a big one. So we've inherited a fantastic audience size, which is great. It does come with some challenges, as you know, Despina. It's when it's been managed and run all over the world by a major global company. Facebook can be quite challenging to navigate in terms of trying to manage your own account and things like that when it's fallen under so many other different umbrellas. But like with the websites, the social media, we kind of stripped back, we took a step back, and we had a look at, we have these assets, our social media, our Facebook and Instagram pages and handles. What do we want to do with them now? And what do we want them to be in the next year, 2 years? What do we want our users to be doing on these platforms with our business? So we've really tried to work on how we use them, and the information and the messages are tailored based on what our long-term goals are for those platforms. It's still definitely a work in progress. We are still in the early stages, but we've had some fabulous partners come on board and really support us, which is all key to supporting them in return and driving business their way, but at the same time making sure that we're giving our customers and cardholders the value that they are expecting. So tons of planning. It's constant planning, in all honesty. Every week there's some more planning in how we are going to develop change. We have a look at the analytics and realize that's not working, we need to change. So then we make those changes, reassess, and keep going.
Brilliant. I hear you being very goal orientated first, setting the objective and knowing very clearly what win looks like. But I love also where you ended there, that social media has been important. And pardon me, I said over 20,000. It's over 60,000. I just did a screen share looking at your Facebook. That must have been one of the other ISIC brands when we were working together, that the smaller audience, your Australian community. It is significant that you've taken over, but I was very impressed in how you managed your community engagement with your content, and you can see that is only achieved through a well thought out and planned approach. So you take your partnerships and your collaboration not only with your partnered businesses, but I can see even with your regions and your destinations that you're working very closely with. So really, really good stuff. Being in the international, with the disruption and many that we're working more in the export trade and internationally having that, which is still ongoing, or when that's happened, for you with international students, reduced significantly, but there are still some students that are international students that continued to study here, or maybe not, but that they have to. They're kind of maybe stuck here with their study. But in terms of what have been some of the strategic changes that you were able to do quickly, knowing that, okay, the main customer is gone, like so many businesses have had to face? How did you incorporate that into your thinking and your strategic approach using these tools that you have available and taking advantage of the large audience that you already have?
Yeah, well, we've had to pivot for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
We've got a great product. We know that we've got a product that's evolved with what our audience wants and needs. But the reality is that where in the past we've relied very heavily on a travel or international focused audience, we simply can't do that. There is still that audience to some degree, but it's shrunk massively. So we've always offered the ISEC or the youth card or even teacher card as a membership product to whether it's clubs or schools or student unions, as well as an ID solution for colleges and schools. But it's never really been a main focus. So we've definitely had to allocate some more time and energy on developing that side of the business. Because if we want to achieve those numbers and goals over the next couple of years, that's probably our quickest path to that. So we've had to develop what we, tailor our messaging, not necessarily for our B2C customer, as we typically have always done. We've had to focus on the B2B side a lot more. We've also had to change the way we talk about the card. We've always, even though the card is not only for international students, we've never really paid too much attention because that size of that audience, the international students or international travelers coming in, as well as the travelers going overseas needing the card, has always been so big that, a decent market share of that audience, is fine. We've never really had to change that too much. Now, with that having changed over the last year, we really need to think about the way we talk about the product. So that's why, as you would have picked up in my intro or in the start of our conversation, I very specifically highlighted that even though it's an international student card, it's recognized internationally. It's not only for international students. So most of our communication and the way we talk about the products and services on our digital channels is around benefits and access for students in general, or youth or teachers, not necessarily talking about the international students or travelers going overseas and things like that. So focusing on our domestic market, so looking at partners that offer products and services for specific domestic markets. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a nationally based service or product. It can be somewhere, a supplier in somewhere really, small, and then pushing out communication specific to that domestic audience in that area. Whereas typically in the past, we've always focused on national products. So we've just fine-tuned a little bit here and there and had to adjust our messaging and how we use our digital tools and communication strategies around that. But yeah, just focusing on what can be done in Australia, not necessarily always talking about the international or global perspective of the product. It's all about what's happening locally.
Oh, look, and I see this. I think this for everybody that was working in the international space, what you're doing is you're continuously creating desire for future as well, because this will come back. And as a desirable destination and a safe destination moving forward, but rightly so. I think you've started to do really well in the short time. I mean, this is kind of essentially the beginning of the year was this real key focus for you of taking this on board in your now, fourth month in. I think you're doing a fantastic job in doing just that, in really educating these benefits and the access that students have to get there out and enjoy their own backyard in a sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also, I mean, and this is the great thing, that we're working in the space, in the digital arena, and the footprint that you're creating and the community that you're building. You're only planting seeds in others to, and using this as an educational tool in itself, that, you're to entice and motivate and inspire them to choose Australia and then choose a state within Australia for their studies, which is just it's really excited me to meet you and learn more about this space,
Yeah.
Jodie. Now, you mentioned, and I mean, numbers tell a story, and your business thrives on collaborations. Like if I've seen you've done a little campaign around the Ride with Us in Victoria, where I'm
Yep.
based here, which is fantastic. And a lot of partnership work to work on those types of collaborations. What's your go-to tool when you're measuring success of these campaigns and promotions that you're working on?
Yeah, so we use a couple. Definitely Google Analytics in seeing what's happening on the website and how things are flowing through. And that's key. If we see people landing on a certain page, but they're not then clicking through, we know we need to fix the page. Something's not right with the page, because why wouldn't they want 50% off, right? If they've clicked through, they're interested on a page and they've got to a page or they've got to a certain point and then they haven't progressed, Google Analytics is fabulous for us to analyze that and work out what we need to tweak and change. Sometimes it's the initial messaging, sometimes it's the page that they're landing on. So a little bit of it's trial and error, but Google Analytics is it's the go-to, definitely, for analyzing what's happening with your websites and things like that. We do also have, with the way our system is set up, we have an internal tool that can then track a little bit deeper than that. So what people are doing once they click in, if they're actually redeeming the vouchers and the offers, and then we can work with the partner to see, once they've redeemed the voucher, are they then actually utilizing the voucher that they've redeemed, or are they then just redeeming it and not doing anything with it? And that's where we would then work with the partner and say, okay, well, how do we get them from redemption of the voucher to actually making that booking and you taking payment? And that's a bit of collaborative work with the partners, which goes quite well in most cases, and we can then come out of it both learning quite a bit and how better to improve the process for the students. The other tool that I use quite a bit, and simply because we use social media so much, because our youth and students typically they live on their social media platforms, is the Facebook Analytics, or Facebook Business Manager, that really does help you deep dive into what's happening, who your audience is, which helps for retargeting. And if you're going to be putting paid campaigns in, who you want to be targeting based on who's typically looking at your content and things like that. So I'd say Google Analytics for sure. And your social media analytics tools. There's a few out there, but Facebook Business Manager does the job for us. And then if you have any other, I suppose, added functionality, you might want to make sure that you can view your stats on that. But yeah, analytics is absolutely key to kind of progressing.
Absolutely key, and I hope this has inspired many. We're singing from the same hymn book. Certainly in our business, and Google Analytics, it's a free tool if it's not something that you have on your website. I just love everything of what you shared there, that looking at it and having your fingers on the pulse, on the heartbeat of your business, looking at the data behind your website, you're able to preempt and make changes to get your customers closer to where you want them to go. And I love that.
Yeah.
That's being able to also be flexible and agile and quickly make the changes, knowing that, okay, our user is hitting roadblocks here. What's something that we can make that user journey better for them from the front end? And that's excellent.
Yeah.
And fun fact for anyone that may not have heard the memo on the Facebook Insights, I don't know if you've heard this. I only read about it this week. They're sunsetting Facebook Insights on your Facebook page. So from 30 June, if you haven't, from 30 June, you will not be able to get your Facebook Insights through your Facebook page. But never fear, it will all be done under the business suite now. So I think Facebook pages, they're really trying to get us all on board onto the business suite product, but they have put out a memo that the insights will be ceasing on 30 June. So if that data is important to you, like Jody, might want to start exporting that information and putting it into an CSV file somewhere. But that is, that is excellent. Sachi, if it isn't measured, it isn't managed, right? I always go to that quote, where if we're not measuring, we're not effectively managing our data properly. I'm also curious with you, dear Jody, because like many of us may be wearing different hats. I know with us that this show is brought to you, Navii and Tourism Tribe. They are two brands. We are managing different content and audience that we're building. For yourself, though, you're managing different businesses, but they're for different audiences in different countries. I'm curious to ask you, how do you go about your content when you're managing different platforms? What's your strategy there within your digital framework when you're talking to different countries? Like, would that feature on Victoria land on your New Zealand page, for example? Are you repurposing the same, or do you have to go with this with two different approaches altogether?
Oh, yeah. So there's been a lot of Facebook pages and groups. I feel like I've trimmed down quite a bit. I now just have 2, which is great, from a couple of years ago where there were over 7. So, but yeah, it's, in all honesty, they all need to be managed with different strategies. You can't create a strategy and replicate it across them all. Unless the countries have very, very similar lifestyles, languages, habits, and the same content and way of doing things appeals to them in the same way. From my experience, I haven't had any 2 markets that do this, even between Australia and New Zealand, which you would think should be quite similar. So it does take some time in trying things out, especially when you're not based in a particular market. And what delivers for each of them and what works. The one thing that I've found that you can take as rule of thumb for any of your social channels across different countries is that you need to think locally. You need to understand your audience and what they are engaged with. So for example, Australia, our Facebook engagement is way better than our Instagram engagements in Australia. New Zealand, on the other hand, they don't like Facebook so much, it seems. They're all on Instagram, and that's where our engagement is. So whilst we may from time to time repurpose content across the different platforms, we'll make sure that we repurpose it in a way that's going to be, I guess, have the biggest impact. So something that would have maybe been on Facebook in Australia, we probably wouldn't put on Facebook in New Zealand. We would probably share it on Instagram because that's going to get better traction. Asia, for example, they don't really engage at all with static content. It has to be videos and real people, real life videos with experiences, whereas Japan is more informative and inspiring content. So you've really got to understand what the audience or the cultural needs are for each of the countries. In terms of repurposing content, especially across Australia and New Zealand, there's definitely some opportunity, and I would say if you have an opportunity to repurpose content, do it, because content takes time, and time is money. So repurpose what you can, but be smart about it. So 3 weeks ago, when our Australia, New Zealand bubble was kind of still under wraps, not much happening, I wouldn't have shared, say, for example, the Ride With Us campaign on our New Zealand channels. However, with the recent announcement and a bubble opening up, yes, we probably would repurpose it and we would share it. But maybe in time, once things are happening and it's a little bit more of a comfortable idea. Yeah, I guess that's the key, is you just really got to understand what the audience on each platform and each country is looking for, and what they need and want, and then make the decisions on what you're going to repurpose and share based on that. Sometimes it also depends on the time of the year. So when we know typically a lot of New Zealanders come over to Australia during the uni breaks or vice versa, we'll make sure a couple of months prior when they're doing their planning, we're pushing out content that meets those interests and needs, so that we're kind of jumping in at times when they're thinking about, should we go skiing, and and should we stay somewhere in Queenstown, or should we head up to the sunny coast, or Gold Coast, and make sure that we're pushing out the right content at the right time for the right people. So a little bit of planning involved, and putting it all out there smartly, but definitely not a no to repurposing. Just got to be aware of what you're doing. Not all content suits everyone, which we've learned the hard way. So
oh, you have really nailed it there, and I've taken so much away from what you've just shared, Jody, because it's not I think what you've just shared and your insight in working with cultural differences, it really applies to the social networks, to have that same level of respect, of knowing your audience and understanding what their kind of interests and how we're meeting those needs and their interests. But I love that, because it does, content does take time, and time is money, and to ensure that you're not wasting it, even knowing what's coming ahead in the calendar with the significant events and working backwards. But I love that, having the right content at the right time to the right people, absolutely on the right network, and looking at your insights and your data. You've been able to identify through your engagement all the parties happening on our Facebook for our Australian market.
Yeah.
And hello, everything is happening on Instagram for our New Zealand market. So repurposing, what I'm hearing is repurposing has a place, as long as it's met with the same respect, to be tailored and tweaked, that it's going to still meet the needs of that particular audience.
Yep. And even within Australia, Despina, considering different states, it's also a different audience. Australia is a big place, What Queenslanders want to hear is not necessarily what Sydney-siders and Victorians want to hear, especially if you want them to take action. So you need to keep that in mind. Content plays a very key role. It's not just about putting stuff out.
Oh, and that's a really good point when you're scheduling content, to be aware of that. Sometimes when you're scheduling too far in advance, you might miss any type of real-time event that's happening that might not the mark in what you're trying to deliver. So that's a good point too. I think there's definitely business owners and marketers can save a lot of time, again, by pre-scheduling, but always being mindful and being aware of what you've got in the can to be posted with any type of real-time events. Oh, Jody, I could talk to you all day, mate. Right, because I'm still, in terms of anyone else that's listening, you can clearly see you have a well-planned approach. You're very quick in your, you're very much on the ball in making quick decisions to change the strategy as well. We're in the fast lane here with our team too, that we can plan for something, but we can very quickly make changes. I think in business and in the environment we all work in today, we have to be at the ready to make those changes. For anyone that hasn't really got a strategic approach to their digital marketing and where you start, even with their communication planning and getting a message out, what would you recommend? How they can make a start? Where would be a good starting point for them to overlay a strategic approach or have a considered approach moving forward?
Yeah, it's really tough, and I totally get it. Like, it's so overwhelming with all the tools and options and all the different areas of a business that you need to kind of cover off. It really can be tough to kind of narrow it down, but I think what's worked for me, at least over the last few years, even when I was with the bigger companies, but more so now, having my own entity and a much smaller setup, is to keep it simple. Simple, and start by deciding exactly what you want as your core purpose and goal. And base everything around that. The extra stuff and the nice to haves and the fluffy stuff will come. And you can, as you grow and develop and the time goes on, you can have mini strategies for those. But to start with, I would definitely keep it simple and have a look at your main goal, and plan around that. Work out what are the absolute core tools that you need to achieve that goal, what you're happy to put budgets, in order to help those efficiencies. So which tools you're happy to spend money on, which you can kind of get away with the free versions, and there's a lot of free versions out there. But keep it simple, don't clutter up with too many tools, and focus on that core goal. You'll find that will keep it simple, and if you work backwards then, from that goal, and keeping it simple with some core tools, it will be a lot more clearer. So if it's a case of you want your business to have more of a informed and community, then you need to make sure as part of your goal of having that business community and keeping your customers informed, you've got some good communication tools to support that strategy. Or if you want your business's growth to really depend on referrals, you need to make sure that you've got a tool that's going to support that particular, those actions. So keeping it simple and having that core goal front of mind, I think, is absolutely critical, especially in the early stages, because it can get very busy and very cluttered up very quickly.
Here. Excellent recommendation there. Keep it really simple and stick with that one main goal. I hope everyone's thinking, what's going to be my one main goal?
We've just That's the hard bit, unfortunately, to work that out. But
it's a great way even to kind of have you approaching your quarter like that, or a new month like that. What's going to be that one thing that I'm going to focus on this month? Speaking of tools, and we'll start to wrap it up with you, Jody. What has been or is a digital tool that you've adapted into your business that now is a non-negotiable and something that you can't live without? Have you got a go-to digital tool that you absolutely love, or tools that you could share with us?
I do. I've got a few, but my two main ones that I honestly don't think I'd stay sane if I didn't use them is Trello. Definitely my first one, using the Trello boards. Those are my to-do list, my actions, my project. Everything has to be in Trello. And that's pretty much how the business runs, using Trello and Trello boards. And then the second one, which is definitely a huge priority for me, and the business and keeping things organized, is we use Zoho CRM. So managing all our B2B partners' records. I have a memory like a sieve, so sifting through emails to try and remember what we've discussed, where we are in the stages, what, dates of agreement, all that kind of stuff. It's all in Zoho. I just can call it up. I can send it off to somebody else to call up and take action on. So I guess tools that keep me organized. So I don't know if that says a lot. Maybe I'm not very organized, but Trello and Zoho, keeping things organized from a day-to-day and partner customer management perspective. And both of them, I use the free versions because they both can be quite expensive, but for the time being, both free versions suit me just fine.
How good is that? Even more bonus. And that's the great thing. I love that you mentioned that. Give you the free version of trial and exhaust that, because sometimes you don't need to go to that next level just yet when you're starting out. So some great tools there. Trello, we also love Trello here at the Navii Tribe, and Zoho. I haven't not familiar with Zoho, so thank you for sharing that one too, for everyone to check out. We had Julie join us, and she said analytics, Google and Facebook. So important. Facts don't lie. The facts don't lie, like the hips don't lie. If anyone's still dealing with COVID kilos. So the facts absolutely don't lie. And we had the team come in and share with us your knowledge of your markets and what they respond to is really impressive, crucial to their engagement. So the team is inspired by you, as am I. Anyone else got any questions or comments or want to reach out to Jody, what's the best way to get to you, Jody? Are you to reach out to you? I've got your details up, and I've popped your website on the tribe as well. So it's what's the best way to get in touch with you?
If you wanted to reach me directly, my email, absolutely fine, and I welcome anyone that wants to have a chat, and even if it's just to share ideas and tips, I'm all for that. We all need that some days. Otherwise, the website, there's inquiry forms and things if you're wanting to make a very specific, business-related inquiry. Otherwise, our social channels as well, if you're just wanting to connect and follow and see what we're up to.
Excellent. So I've popped all of that throughout the show. We've got Jody's website, savvyyouthandstudent.com.au, and you can get all access to Jody's socials through the website or directly through the links that I'm sharing on the screen now. What a treat to start the Friday morning with you, Jody. Thank you again. Please stay in touch. We'll be looking forward to reaching out. And I know I have many of my Victorian friends and clients that I've already spoken to after speaking with you, encouraging them to reach out and get onto your iSIC network. So awesome. Thank you again. And we'll see you again very soon. And all the very, very best with your journey, and may your digital discovery keep really thriving. You've made an amazing start. Thanks. So to all of you, thank you. And to all of you that's joined us live, thank you for staying on with us. I hope you found that really valuable, as did I and Anne there in the green room. It was amazing to hear of Jody's journey and how she's applied all her experience throughout her career into her new business. Speaking of business and strategy and all the good stuff that we spoke about, if that's something that you want more of, we do have some excellent programs that are available to any small business around the country through our Navii network. If you wanted to check out, we have a digital BizKeeper program that is starting. It's a 6-week program that is weekly live courses and tutorials around covering all things that we covered with Jody today, including strategy, including things like your social media. We have dedicated weeks on Facebook and Instagram, on online reputation management, on keeping your business safe, tools like Jody had, tools that can create efficiencies in your business. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can head over to Navii.com.au, and if you're a tourism business, please head over to tourismtribe.com. Also available on Navii, you'll see we've got a bit of a Next Steps digital challenge, which is going off as well. So we'd love to see you there too. If you want to join us on a Next Step challenge, there's some really good stuff. We'd love to have you there. But until next time, here's to your digital discovery, and we'll see you again, same time, same place, next Friday. Some more digital transformations, conversations, and discoveries with another special and exciting guest. Have a wonderful day and a blessed weekend, and see you then. Thank you. Bye.